Greetings and welcome to episode 134 of the Words About Gamescast, the weekly video game podcast for Words About Games, where Keith waits until we started to start adjusting his camera. I'm your host, Amy Alexander. I'm joined this week by Keith Robinson.
Hey!
Hey! I'm still catching my breath.
Indeed.
From that Overwatch World Cup match between the United Kingdom and South Korea.
Yeah.
Oh, that was something.
Heart goes out to the lads. They really tried for it. It wasn't the usual, South Korea comes in and steamrollers everyone. I watched a match in 2 minutes, and they were really going at it. They were making South Korea work for once.
It was such a great thing. Yeah, like the whole thing, the whole way through, like they weren't. It wasn't like you would imagine, where it was like, South Korea wins, South Korea wins. It was like, nah. They're having to actually work. And they only won the 2 matches, and the other 2 were draws. It was crazy. You should go back and watch it. Everybody should watch it. It was like Overwatch at its best. Competitive Overwatch at its best. When you watch us play Overwatch, it's a very different kind of thing.
We do play Overwatch competitively occasionally.
I mean, we do. Would you say we play it like that, though?
No. Our team comps generally a bit weird as well.
Hey, well, you know,
I don't think Moira's meta, so
we have to kind of adapt to certain other players on our team who will occasionally surprise us.
Yeah.
And if you're thinking, wait, you're all on the same team, and yet other members of your team are surprising you. Yes, that is the problem.
Yes.
I just realised my TV's still got the World Cup going on. I can see the lights flashing on the back wall.
I was going to say, sometimes we don't have the whole roster with us as well, which doesn't help.
I mean, who needs a full roster? We were doing better when there was less of us at one point.
Yeah. That was weird.
Should we talk about some video game news?
Yes, let's start with some of the big news.
The big news. Well, it's a bit weird this week because I'm going to do that really quickly. It's a bit weird this week because there's been two things. This is BlizzCon, which we were just talking about, and there was a Nintendo Direct for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, which lasted 40 minutes. So we're going to be talking about those as well as the news. Some of the news comes from that. But we had the BlizzCon 2018, which is we had some announcements. I didn't list them all because, let's be honest, like it's cool for like Heroes of the Storm players that there's a new character coming out for Heroes of the Storm, but it's not really like major thing. Like I only noted one new character because it's a game we play. Yeah, and I'm not going to spend any time talking about it anyway. So the big headline announcements from BlizzCon 2018. You got Warcraft 3 Reforged. Just I left a pause in there for you.
Yeah, that we knew we suspected it was coming because stuff we covered at the beginning of the year. 40K resolution.
4K. 40K, you'd probably have to project it on the side of a skyscraper.
Sorry. I said that only because I watched the whole thing live, and there were people in the comment section of whatever platform out there Blizzard decided to use for its official stuff, debating that Blizzard should just buy out Games Workshop so they can produce all the 40K stuff for them.
Well, I would say don't get me started on Blizzard fans, but unfortunately, we're going to get started on Blizzard fans.
Yeah.
Not started on them as in we're going to go and fight them. I mean, we're going to start talking about them. The second biggest thing from there was Diablo Immortal, which is a mobile Diablo game, and we'll talk about that in about 3 minutes. The third biggest thing was Destiny 2 is free to download and keep on PC via battle.net until November 18th. Seems pretty smart. Get people to check it out, try it out.
You don't even have to download it to keep it. You just need to click.
You just need to add it to your library like you do with like PSN games and games with gold. It's pretty cool, like because if you want to progress, if you get into it and you want to progress on further than the vanilla base game, then you know you're going to need to buy those DLCs, right?
Yeah.
So it's a good move from Activision Blizzard. Weird though. Weird that Destiny 2 is a thing at BlizzCon.
Yes.
It's like people.
Before,
it's like. Go ahead.
It was before the actual like they had people talking on before the actual like thing started. Before the like, what do they call it?
Pre-show.
So the pre-show, yeah. Which they were doing all this Activision stuff, like that thing where you could, if you went on the Blizz launchers right now, you could get this thing. And they also talked about Black Ops, I think. They talked about Activision stuff before the main show started. There was a few people just thinking like, what on earth is this game doing here?
It's Activision Blizzard.
Yeah.
Activision. I keep trying to remind people that it's not Blizzard, it's Activision Blizzard.
Yeah.
And I guess with the likes of Destiny and Call of Duty being on Battle.net now, then it's going to start being more of a Blizzard thing as well as an Activision thing. There was a new Overwatch character called Ash.
Yes.
Voiced by Jennifer Hale.
Yeah, within 10 minutes of the intro's like ending, there was fan art of her on Twitter.
Of course there was.
Within an hour, there was a picture of her with Rule 34 on a wet t-shirt.
Of course there was. WoW Classic releases in summer 2019, and it will be a part of the standard WoW subscription, so you don't have to pay any extra to play it. I will not check it out, because either my memories of it will be stronger than my opinions of it if I play it in 2019, or they won't be, and you will never see me ever again for the rest of my life, because I remember what I was like when I played WoW back in vanilla. Yeah. And lastly, Lucio's cereal has been officially announced, which we talked about last week, 2 weeks ago.
It was about 3-4 weeks ago that we saw it was on a list of. It popped up in the story because someone had noticed it in a retailer catalog for cereals.
Yeah, it's a thing now. Yeah. Makes sense. We got a cereal announcement at a gaming press conference keynote thing.
They even ate it on stream.
Which is smart. So that's pretty cool. Let's focus on the one which has caused the biggest news to happen out of BlizzCon. And this is a story that says Blizzard faces huge backlash for Diablo mobile game. Fans call it a slap in the face. This is from Samuel Horty by PC Gamer. If you get any lower, you're going to disappear. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Yeah, I just thought I'd disappear during the story.
Fair enough. I'll read the story. Blizzard is facing severe backlash following the reveal of its massively multiplayer Diablo Immortal mobile game at BlizzCon, with fans calling the announcement a slap in the face. Most of the anger stems from Blizzard stating in August that it had multiple Diablo projects in the works, fueling speculation that it would announce Diablo 4 or a Diablo remaster at BlizzCon. It later clarified that it wouldn't be ready to announce all of our projects. But many players still believe that building all that hype and then unveiling a mobile game is disrespectful, especially to those that paid to attend. The game's cinematic trailer above... Well, it's not above that... It is in the news story, but not on this podcast, I think.
Amy is tired.
No, it's not up there. We're all good. The game's cinematic trailer has received more than 200,000 dislikes compared to just 7,000 likes. The top comment, which user Red Pill Shark claims has been deleted 8 times, says, quote, "No king rules forever, my son," end quote. Oh, no, wait, that's not an end quote. No king rules... It's weird. That's weirdly written down. No king rules forever, my son. I have played your games for the last 20 plus years and will never forget my first encounter with Thrall. Goodbye. You have changed, old friend. End quote. The two most upvoted posts on the Diablo subreddit call the mobile game, quote, worse than nothing, a slap in the face, end quote, and accuse Blizzard of, quote, spitting in the faces of the community. Another post points out how uncomfortable the silence was at BlizzCon following the reveal, and a clip from a Q&A at the event in which a fan asks if the announcement was an out-of-season April Fool's joke has gained traction on social media.
When it comes to the uncomfortable silence, there was far more woos in that Diablo thing than there was to the thing that was right before it. I was watching it live, and there was 2 Hearthstone presentations because the first one, the mic died, so they cut to Overwatch, which was meant to be on after the Hearthstone one. Jeff Kaplan, bless his soul, made a bit of a joke about it. When it came back, it was like someone had shot a puppy in the room because the Overwatch announcements was done on the Overwatch for the Blizzard World Cup, the Overwatch World Cup. It was done at that stage, so when they cut back, there was no energy. There was no excitement or anything in the room for the Hearthstone thing. There was barely any reaction to when the guy came out to talk about Hearthstone and stuff. And then we got the thing for Diablo, and there was a bit of there was happens when he came out and that, but it was just nothing. There was no energy and stuff. And the cameras on the crowd, it looked like they'd just been sitting there for the whole into the Overwatch thing and seen nothing. There was just no enthusiasm for the group, whatever. There was a few hundred people sitting there, so you'd expect a bit of a reaction to anything.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, yeah, sure. A Diablo mobile game isn't what anyone was expecting, and it's a mobile game, so it depends whether you like mobile games or not. But, I mean, in terms of the backlash,
calling it a spit in the face is going a bit far.
Grow up, I guess, would be my advice to Red Pill Shark and everybody else who thinks this is the worst thing that has ever happened. You're not entitled to anything. Yeah. This company doesn't owe you anything. They have multiple Diablo projects in the works, and came out 2 weeks ago, because we talked about it on the podcast, that they weren't going to be announcing a Diablo 4 at BlizzCon. That was last week. We were talking about that.
I mean, it sucks if you bought a ticket 3 or 4 weeks ago, hoping to see.
Yeah, hoping.
It sucks. Yeah, it sucks. But A, you only knew it wasn't going to be on that stage. And B, there was no guarantee you were going to see that in the first place. It's not like they said, "Oh, see this at our next, our conference in December." Yeah, no.
If they'd said, "Oh, come and check out Diablo 4 or Diablo Remastered," and then they showed a Diablo mobile game, then I could see why the people who paid to attend to see Diablo 4 or Diablo Remastered might be pissed off. But guess what?
Yeah.
There was no guarantee that either of those things were going to happen.
Yeah.
And they're working on multiple Diablo projects. So this mobile game isn't replacing Diablo 4. I just see this and think, what the fuck? We've reached that point where we've gone from I've obviously been reading a lot of stuff about this, and it's like someone was saying we've reached this point where it's like we've gone from this I don't like this thing because it's not for me to I don't like this thing, therefore it should not exist. That's what all of this is. Basically, spitting in the face. I'm never going to play Diablo again. I mean, for starters, you will. When Diablo 4 comes out, I know it, you know it, Blizzard knows it. Yeah, I guess I'll just go back to my original sentiment of screw the fuck up. Seriously, it's video games. Do you have anything to add before I move on to more Diablo stuff?
I mean, there was one comment that was going up as the trailer was on that I did like, which was, "This is going to run horribly on your mobile on the train."
Yeah, probably.
Yeah,
it's an MMO mobile game. Yeah, it's
Yeah, it's I can see it maybe working up like it did on that trailer on a tablet, sitting in your house, on the go. Maybe not so much.
Yeah, sure.
I can get a lot of people were disappointed, but
I mean, I would have been if what would be I don't know what would be a thing if at E3 last summer Resident Evil 2 came out and it was a mobile game. I sure as shit would have been disappointed. And it's a similar situation where it was like I was convinced that Resident Evil 2 remake was going to be there, but like if it wasn't, it was my fault and nobody else's that it wasn't. Of course, I'm a gaming pundit who's been doing this for years, and you know.
I mean, both me and you have been angry before that the game has been brought out as a mobile game because, you know, Russell won a point.
Yeah, but
doesn't mean we don't believe that thing should exist.
No, definitely not. Command & Conquer, whatever it was called, like, it definitely deserves to exist. And I remember even sitting on that live stream with Russell saying, yeah, this actually looks kind of cool, beside the point. Until we found out about the microtransactions and how it actually worked. At its base, it looked kind of cool. But it's just dumb. Like, they're still making Diablo 4. Don't worry about it. Like, just calm down. Have a nap.
When we make Diablo 4, the classic team will be remaking or still remaking Warcraft 3, and then they'll be doing Diablo, so it's going to come. So.
It's like, this is how game development works, right? There's like, they can make more than one thing at a time, especially at Blizzard. They make a lot of money. And speaking of making a lot of money, Keith, Diablo 3 amiibo are coming later this year. This is from Laura Kate Dale over at Kotaku. And basically, there was a data miner. This wasn't part of BlizzCon. There was a data miner post on Reddit, which found several references inside the code of Diablo 3 on Switch that seemed to suggest new custom amiibo would be released for the game. Now, thanks to an official announcement from Blizzard, we know that yes, those amiibo are really real. I don't think it's worth reading the rest of that. The only reason that story is it's so far off the top of the list is just because it's all Blizzard related. So, yeah, I mean, there's going to be a couple of Diablo amiibo. I like amiibo.
I've noticed.
What are you talking about?
Let's get off to like the talk of like amiibos and stuff. Let's go to the next.
Yeah, let's get off the talk of amiibos and stuff. There was a Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Direct, which lasted about 40 minutes earlier this week. And again, I've literally just marked down. The key points rather than pulling like a bajillion different news stories into one thing. The biggest part is World of Light. And you've just reminded me to actually add something to that. But the key one is World of Light. There's going to be a full-on single-player adventure mode in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. It's a full-on campaign. There are skill trees. It's got like an overworld where you explore, and it looks like you're even solving some puzzles or at least unlocking some new paths. And you're going around and freeing all of the other... Keith, do you want to talk about the trailer for World of Light? Or what looks like the intro?
I think it doesn't already exist. A mental health care package should be sent to the Nintendo studio developing Smash Bros. Or at least their promotional material for Smash Bros.
So, at E3 we made a nice joke in our E3 roundup about how one of the best moments at E3 was the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate part of the Nintendo Direct, because Nintendo seemed to inadvertently kill Mario and Mega Man. Yeah, everybody always forgets Mega Man. So it's kind of like, that was funny. Like, oh my god, they just straight up killed him, lol. And then a bit later, we saw Luigi have his soul ripped from his body.
By the Grim Reaper himself.
By the Grim Reaper himself, as his lifeless corpse lay on the floor, writhed and contorted in obvious agony. And that was when we started to suspect things might not be so rosy over at Nintendo HQ. So then we get the World of Light debut trailer, in which every single member of the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate roster, and there are a lot of them, 74 fighters, except Kirby, get vaporized. So...
Not only that, it does kind of imply that, because of that cutaway to the galaxy in the expanding light, it's like they just wiped out everyone in the galaxy bar Kirby.
Yeah, I think so. That might actually be what happened, because there's another system in the game, which is in the full game, but it's going to be a big part of the single player, called Spirits. which is you can equip a primary spirit and then some support spirits to essentially give you support on the battlefield. So, like, you can equip, I believe the example I read was Bullet Bill as one of your spirits, and Bullet Bill will drop extra items around the arena for you to use. And you think about it, the word spirits, these are all sorts of different characters, like from all sorts of different franchises that are in there. So there's like Rogue from Sonic the Hedgehog and Cappy from Super Mario Odyssey. And it sure seems like they're all dead too. We need to get a GoFundMe going. We need to get somebody to Japan. We need to check if Sakurai is okay. And maybe just give him a hug, because everybody's dead. Like Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Everybody's dead.
World of Light, the darkest inclination of Smash.
I mean, Kirby's still kicking, obviously, of all the characters in the roster.
Surviving living creature in the entire galaxy.
Yeah, Smash Bros. Ultimate is pretty dark when you really think about it.
It is now.
Like, I'm glad that that's the final direct.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if I could take much more.
Yeah.
But then you think, what else could they do? Like,
torment the souls for all eternity?
Yeah, well, I mean, there is, I suppose, like, it's like, oh, now we're going to see their souls being tortured everlong in the afterlife. Like, it's just a 20-minute stream of all the characters in the roster just screaming as they're being tormented by demons. I feel like that's the next logical progression of the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate marketing campaign.
Yeah. If we're ready for the next inevitable step, everyone who has to switch dive. Wait, what? Oh, calm down.
It's like, I'm really looking forward to the fact that it's got this cool adventure mode in it, but it's also kind of like, I don't know if I want to play it. Like, it's gonna be like Kirby has to sacrifice itself themselves to like save the day or something, and it's going to be like top 10 most emotionally powerful and devastating endings to a video game of all time.
It's like Kirby.
Like there was little touches in that friggin' intro, which I'm assuming is the intro to Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, where it's like where everybody's getting fucked up and vaporized and shit, and like Sonic and Pikachu, and you can just see Sonic reach out to grab Pikachu just as he's taken, and it's like, the fuck am I watching?
Yeah, it's like we've each got to take out like 10 of those hands. Okay. Boom.
Yeah, and then Shulk has a vision of the future where everybody gets vaporized, but doesn't have enough time to actually prevent it from happening, and it just the squidlings, the Inklings from Splatoon, like try to hide in the ground.
They jump in puddles to protect themselves, and then it just vaporizes the ground they stand on. It's dark, people. It's a dark time.
Yeah.
Dogs and cats living together.
Let's move on. You knew we weren't going to be able to escape this game for a little while. Why reporting a Red Dead Redemption 2 leak cost a British website $1.3 million? This is from Keizo McDonald or Kotaku, who writes, the video games media reports on leaked information all the time, so why, when British website Trusted Reviews published details from a leaked document about Red Dead Redemption 2 in February of this year, did it end up paying out over $1 million to charities as part of a settlement with publisher Take-Two Interactive? The answer comes down to two things: how Trusted Reviews handled the information it was given, and how Take-Two decided to handle the breach. As detailed in the original article about the leak, which has now been taken down and replaced with an apology, Trusted Reviews originally received this information months prior to publication, in August 2017. According to two sources from other media outlets, the same leaked document was also sent to their websites around the same time. Trusted Reviews then waited until some of the information in the document was corroborated by Rockstar's own drip feed for information about Red Dead 2 before publishing the rest. What Trusted Reviews did not do was verify the identity of the leaker or where the information came from, according to three people familiar with the situation. Nobody at Trusted Reviews knew whether this document was stolen or otherwise obtained via illicit means, those people said. Per British law, what matters most here is not whether the information turns out to be true, but whether it was legally obtained, and whether that can be proven in court. Take-Two could have asserted that the confidential information was stolen, hacked, or otherwise illegally obtained, which would have made the outlet that published the information complicit in the misappropriation of trade secrets and liable for damages. £1 million in that situation would be considerably less than could be demanded in court. Normally, it would be the person who breached confidentiality who would be legally liable, i.e. the person who passed the document to Trusted Reviews. But if Trusted Reviews couldn't identify its source and be sure that the information wasn't illegally obtained, it would have had a very thin defense. So, yeah, this has been going for a few days now. And I've seen the discourse around it. And specifically, I saw, when I first saw it come out, there was no like breakdown of what had actually happened. It was literally just like the first things that we knew were Trusted Reviews got sued and they had to pay £1 million to charities on the like behalf of Take-Two Interactive because they leaked some information, and that's all anyone was talking about. So naturally, those of us with less restraint than myself, believe me, they exist, just jumped off the deep end and were just like, my god, I can't believe they Rockstar and Take-Two Interactive sue these guys because they leaked some Red Dead information. It depends how they got this information, right? And as we've learned there, they don't know where that information came from. If it was stolen,
yeah,
they're well and truly open to getting sued. If they were given it by Rockstar Games or Take-Two Interactive and signed an NDA, they were well and truly open to getting sued. There was this sort of weird thing where a lot of people were saying, rest in peace, games journalism, rest in peace, press, freedom of speech came up. And it's just like, now that
freedom of consequence.
Free speech is a big popular argument about many things on the internet, unfortunately. But yeah, like if they didn't verify where they got the information from, and then it turns out it was stolen, they're complicit in the misappropriation of, as it just said in that story. Yeah. I don't know if there's much of a discussion here, just so much as it's exactly the kind of story that people would expect us to talk about on this podcast.
Yeah. It's basically on lines of, they printed something, and so maybe someone just sent them something, but they have no idea who that thing is. They've printed it, and then Rockstar's gone, well, yeah, that was true. How did you, we don't like how you got this because you should never have been able to have this.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, the legal team's like, well, what's the name of the source? And someone's like, we don't know the name of the source. And the legal department's just like...
Yeah, exactly. It's like whatever legal department exists. Trusted Reviews is owned by a magazine company, I believe. And like whatever legal department exists there must have known that this was, for whatever reason that we may never know about, was not defensible.
Yeah,
because we talk about video game leaks all the time, right? And 99.9% of the time they don't end in a lawsuit. That's successful.
This is the thing. It's journalism in video games is what's different from journalism in the real world. And I can totally see someone at this company not realizing this person has sent us this information, and then the legal team have to try to explain months later that this is not how things happen. Yeah. There is a process which that they're protected from being sued, and just an anonymous email, if that's what it was, or like a drop off or a letter and stuff, isn't enough.
No, it's not. But in real journalism, like in all journalism, like you wait for two sources because you want one source to verify what the other source is saying. But you also have to know, at least, you have to know where this information comes from.
Like they don't.
Which is why we can report on so many different leaks from all these different companies.
Like when you see Kotaku things with like multiple sources or like X number of sources have said this,
it's like Kotaku knows who those sources are. They're not going to tell us. Like the stuff we talked about last week, all of the stories that came out of Rockstar Games about crunch.
Yeah.
Like, all of those sources were anonymous. Well, most of them were anonymous for very good reason. Kotaku's not going to get sued for publishing those stories. Whereas if, say, there had been an interdepartmental memo that someone had hacked onto Rockstar's servers to download and then passed it on to Kotaku and then Kotaku had published it, then they would have been in trouble because it was obtained illegally. What was funny was we actually reported on this when it came out. This was the stuff about, I believe this was the stuff about Red Dead Redemption 2 having a Battle Royale mode.
Yeah.
And I remember we were saying, like, oh, just because it's called Battle Royale doesn't mean it's going to be a Battle Royale.
Yeah. It's totally going to be a Battle Royale.
I mean, it could be. Like, Red Dead Online's not out yet, so.
Everyone is so into, like, you know, Red Dead at this point that Blizzard has made an Overwatch character who is basically a female John Mask.
Yeah, true. True.
It's true, it's hard when you think about that.
I mean, I'm not denying it. That's what you see my Red Dead 2 video. Rockstar trumpets $725 million Red Dead Redemption 2 sales. This is from Wesley and Poole over at Eurogamer, and it says, Rockstar has trumpeted Red Dead Redemption 2's astronomical sales, claiming it to be the second biggest entertainment launch of all time. The sales success of the game comes hot on the heels of shocking revelations about the human cost of the development of Red Dead Redemption 2, and then I'm assuming there was a hyperlink in the original story. Rockstar said Red Dead Redemption 2, which came out on PS4 and Xbox One on Friday, 26th of October, generated over $725 million in worldwide retail sell-through during its first 3 days, making it the second highest grossing entertainment launch of all time, behind Rockstar's own Grand Theft Auto 5, which made over $1 billion in 3 days after it went on sale back in 2013. Records were broken all over. Sony said Red Dead Redemption 2 saw the highest ever pre-orders, highest day one sales, and highest sales for the first 3 days on the market for a game on PlayStation Network, which makes sense because GTA 5 came out on PS3. It would have had more boxed sales than Red Dead Redemption 2. $725 million in 3 days. Video games are super expensive to make. That's why we need all these microtransactions, right? Because it's only ever the big games that get them. They could probably pay their overtime bill with that.
I was thinking, I was hoping the bonuses for this are going to be astronomical for the people who have worked on this.
Should be. I mean, the bonuses for Dan Houser and the people who run Take-Two and Rockstar Games are probably going to be really good. But I think, because we know way more than we probably ever wanted to about the way Rockstar Games is structured at this point. Yeah. I think from the knowledge that we've gained over the last few weeks, I think the bonuses for everybody, at the very least who still works there, is going to be pretty good. Which is good because, you know, all the mental health problems and whatnot.
Yeah. If you haven't strokes at 30, you're going to need a lot of medical bills taken care of.
Especially if you live in America.
I knew one of us was going to say that.
I had to say that. I had to go there.
Yeah.
I'm going to assume that's either fireworks or hail, and that there isn't something sizzling in my room. Anyway, speaking of what we've been speaking about the last few weeks, Devolver Digital co-founder talks about how Crunch affects indie studios. This is from Jody McGregor over at PC Gamer. Blah, 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 blah. There's a whole thing at the beginning.
It's a long block of text.
The culture of crunch doesn't just affect big-budget studios. Speaking to PC Gamer at PAX Australia, Graham Struthers said that he and his colleagues at indie publishing label Devolver Digital, which he co-founded, have been discussing the issue as well. Quote, I'm sure Red Dead's going to be an absolutely huge success. And I hope they use some of that success to address what seems to be a fairly deep-rooted issue. I'm sure they will, because it's in their best interest to keep that talent and nurture it. End quote. Even self-managed indie developers remain at the mercy of timed commitments, marketing deadlines, and game conventions count among these. As do crowded release schedules, the pressure to overwork is still there. Quote, my view personally is that if you're a company that owns a studio, you've got to figure out better ways of working with your own employees and take better care of them. In the same way, when you work like we do, independent studios, you've got to take care of people because they can basically throw themselves into very unhealthy work practices. It's very easy to do that, end quote. He goes on to say, I'm not joking. Sometimes one or two of us have jumped on a plane to go to another country to effectively take people out to eat and have a night off. We're not pressuring developers to crunch at all. In fact, we're trying to push them in the other direction, which is have a normal, balanced life. End quote. So, a view from a completely different arena of video game developer, with Devolver Digital obviously being an indie dev publisher, which means they just sign independent developers or smaller development studios to make games for them and give them the funding necessary. But it sounds like they have a completely different approach to their partners, because it's not really employees, to their partners overworking themselves than Rockstar's. If you don't like it, fuck off down Tesco's. I'm sure there's more that goes on behind the scenes at Devolver Digital as there is in any company anywhere. Pretty sure Dan Houser would never jump on a plane to fly somewhere to make an employee have a night off, though.
Yeah, when it comes to Devolver Digital, it's in their best interest to have a healthy working relationship with people that, like, because as they say, they're not employees, they're like other companies, and they want to have a good working relationship and continue having a good relationship with these companies after this initial product comes out. It's not their business model is not work you to the bone and then we'll produce this game.
Yeah,
because and then that means that person's not going to come back and work with Devolver Digital.
Yeah,
they want to have a healthy relationship so that this person continues to, the golden goose. They want to keep the golden goose alive and well fed, not just strip mine the goose.
Yeah, well, they're not just strip mining game development studios and then discarding them when they're done with them.
Allegedly?
No, not not allegedly. How many video game studios have been strip mined and then closed?
I can't remember the facts off the top of my head, which is why I said allegedly. But you had the look in your eye, like you could, sort some stuff out. If the lawyers come for you, I'm sure you'll be able to make it. I knew you were going
to say allegedly, and for once, I knew it wasn't. Ha! Gotcha. That's going to be the only time that's going to happen in 12 months.
I mean, I'm sure that EA lawyers will call it something like resource redistribution or something. But
there'll be some fancy term for what they do to Maxis and Visceral Games and Bullfrog and Westwing Interactive.
I knew you'd be able to name some of them.
I know I play the buffoon, but I'm actually quite good at this. When I choose to be. Speaking of buffoonery, worlds have collided and it finally happened. Brexit will cause serious harm to the UK games industry. This is from Hayden Taylor over at gamesindustry.biz.
I beg of you, please do not read the entire document because that's over a page before.
Who writes? Anti-Brexit campaign group Games for EU has warned that a no-deal or hard Brexit will cause serious harm to the UK games industry. The pro-EU organisation has outlined the potential effects of Brexit on the entire interactive entertainment industry from esports to VR in a 51-page white paper. Its conclusion was drawn from an analysis of areas including everywhere. In the interest of Keith not wanting me to read all of this. Everything. It's going to fuck up everything.
They've done a comprehensive analysis on the cost-benefit impact of proposed Brexit outcomes, and it's very negative.
Let me pull the highlights.
Yeah.
In particular, a no-deal or hard Brexit will leave the UK games industry facing considerable uncertainty and bureaucracy that will drive up costs and impede day-to-day business. Leaving the EU will also make products like games consoles and software subscriptions more expensive and harder to access. No evidence has been put forward by the UK government or any credible external sources of any economic benefit from deregulation, end quote. With access to pan-EU trade and personal data impacted, it could disrupt digital services such as online multiplayer and even make it materially harder for retailers like Amazon to distribute to the UK. We need to move our games, both digital and physical, our consoles, and our people around the UK and EU fast and frictionlessly. We depend on the regulatory system to enable digital access to our products across the EU. There's this one you'll have heard if you've ever, from any sector, if you've ever followed anything about Brexit, many global companies have EU headquarters located in the UK, including Activision, Square Enix, Microsoft, and Sony. However, after Brexit, these companies will be compelled to relocate to elsewhere in the EU. Not in the UK, that would be pointless. Post-Brexit, UK-based businesses would lose the benefits of the system and in principle have to apply 27 member states' respective laws when trading with each of those companies. If EU citizens lose freedom of movement in the UK after Brexit, this will result in a loss of access to EU talent and cause overtime, talent security, and brain drain. The inevitable crackdown on immigration, as pronounced by the UK government, will also impact the ability for EU students to study at British universities. Furthermore, and this is probably a point that should be near the bottom of the thing, Games for EU highlights that the UK games industry is an international one, and travel across the EU is a common aspect of business. And lastly, consumer rights will also be badly hurt, the paper argues. This could affect the easy return and refund rights against EU businesses, net neutrality, and basic consumer legal rights in the courts. Any benefit to UK business is likely to be illusory, since in practice UK businesses will be forced to continue to apply EU law in their EU trade anyway. End quote. There's a lot more. It's a lot longer than it was. I've literally just tried to pick up bullet points.
Yeah, it's a 52-page. It's like every other thing that we've heard from industry talking about Brexit.
Yeah, but now it's about video games, which is that's our house. It's about our house now, Keith. And guess what? They've looked into it, and it's apparently going to be a disaster. Who would have thought?
I mean, I didn't quite get why subscription charges may go up, but
costs in general would go up, right? So of course subscription charges would go up, because that's the if Sony have to pay more to send PlayStation 4s to the UK, there's only two ways they're going to make that money back. The PlayStations are going to have to be more expensive, or they can just make people pay more for PS Plus. Because those are the two recurrent, one's a recurrent business, whatever they call it, recurrent payment customer thing. Because, you have to pay for that every month or every year, right? Same with Xbox, Nintendo, anyone really who has to try and ship things in to the country. Stop looking at the clock. It's putting us off.
I'm a clock watcher.
You've got one right in front of you.
Mine doesn't work, remember?
Well, move your fucking clock then. Anyway. It's going to be a disaster. But the games industry is global. Of course it was going to be very negatively impacted by something like Brexit, especially where we're in a scenario where it doesn't look like a deal is actually likely.
Yeah, I mean, we've mentioned before about Blizzard and the whole thing with Ireland and this soft or hard border, how that's going to affect them. It's going to suck because there's a lot of video game companies in Britain who may just shut down. I mean, I'm looking at Red Dead 2 behind you, and I'm thinking about all those people who did a load of crunch on this game, and thinking that may be the last game they work on.
Potentially. If Rockstar's headquarters isn't in the UK, it's in New York. So if it's cheaper for them to set up new studios in France or Germany or any other EU 27 member state, they'll do it. And the people who already work at Lincoln and Rockstar North, freedom of movement will be dead by then. So it's you can't really get you jobs at the new studio. And also, the UK games industry, in terms of developers, isn't huge.
Yeah.
So good luck, all you people trying to find new jobs. On the island you've essentially been trapped on.
There was talk of being able to opt in to keep your EU membership after we left, and I don't know if the British government has killed that off yet. But hopefully people who if they're offered opportunity to work in other countries in the EU will be able to move there, because it's going to suck.
I mean, hopefully. There are a lot of UK, a lot of big AAA publishers have UK headquarters. Sometimes their entire European headquarters is based in the UK somewhere.
Yeah.
If the emails I get from them are any judge.
Yeah. I mean, you can see it would be convenient for a lot of like those big American companies, given that English is the primary language of both the US and the UK, and we were in the EU.
Well, still are, I guess, for a few more months.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll see how this all shakes out, but yeah, I mean, there are just so many like unforeseen impacts it's going to have on the video game industry, and I can't see many of them being like positive. Like when I go to a trade show like EGX, the number of non-UK games developers, like on the indie side of things, who are there just like showcasing their games is huge. The fact that we won't have as big an access to talent coming in from like other European countries that we've had before to bring into our UK based studios, like the ones that are actually like UK based and not just like an offshoot like Rockstar Lincoln and Rockstar North, for example. Like if they're not going to be able to attract the talent will just go elsewhere.
Collaboration hard as well, given that you can Skype at the moment you can Skype to someone in another like country, no problem.
But if you have to go to another person's studio, it's like there was a lot of collaboration.
It's not going to help.
There was a lot of collaboration for Horizon Zero Dawn between Guerrilla Games and the studio in the Netherlands, the Dutch studio. It's slipping. I guess I'm not very good at this. But yeah, I imagine they were just hopping backwards and forwards between Holland and the UK, and that's not really going to be as easy because, yeah, you're still going to be able to get on a plane and fly to Holland, but you're not going to be able to get into the country as fast because you've got to go through the other queue, not the fast, immediate, instant entry for EU citizens, but you have to go through the other one. There's so many like small ways that this is going to hurt the games industry in this country. And I'm glad that this has finally come out because something like this was going to come up eventually. And now that it's done and we've talked about it, now hopefully we don't have to talk about it again till after March 2019. Because, it's going to come up again. Let's talk about this very strange and kind of silly headline. Titanfall 3 and Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order could be out by late 2019. This comes from Colin Stevens over at IGN, who says, according to some prepared remarks from EA, it appears Respawn Entertainment will have multiple games released by holiday 2019, which may include Titanfall 3 and Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. In these prepared remarks, EA revealed that there are new projects underway across multiple studios, including games, plural, from Respawn that are slated to launch by the next holiday season. And then it says, when Respawn was acquired by EA in 2017, both groups revealed that the studio was working on several projects, including an Oculus Rift VR game that was announced in 2017, a third Titanfall game, and a third-person Star Wars title that was revealed to be Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order at E3 2018. Keith, what do you think the odds are that EA and Respawn, that one, EA would decide to launch Titanfall 3 and Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order for holiday 2019. Two, that Respawn Entertainment will be ready to launch both of these massive AAA projects around about the same time. Together.
I would be surprised.
I would be astonished.
Yeah, it's like I'm looking at this, like the Star Wars games, like we saw nothing about that.
Yeah.
The last thing I heard about Titanfall was that the people who were who'd worked on it were astonished that EA committed to a future for Titanfall. I can't remember the name of the guy, but it was one of the producers, I think.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember there was that thing where they were going around and they were doing the PR for it, and one of the guys, who runs the studio, was with one of the EA PR guys. I remember this was when it first came out, and EA literally said, the EA PR person literally said, we're committed to the future of Titanfall, and then I think it was Vince Zampella turned around and just went, whatever the fuck that means. I think it was PC Gamer that interview ran in. No, the chances are that Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order will be at E3 2019, and they'll be like, it's coming out holiday 2019, and then at some point it'll get delayed. But the other game, yeah, they won't go past March, right? Because God forbid we go past March. The other game will be the VR game, which I'm assuming isn't going to be as big a project, not being worked on by as many people.
Mm-hmm.
Probably been in development longer than Titanfall 2. Titanfall 3.
Yeah.
So yeah, I saw all these headlines popping up, and a lot of people were like, "You, Titanfall 3," and I was like, "Yeah, but no, probably not." I mean, I want to get excited about Titanfall 3, but
yeah, I mean, Titanfall 2 had an amazing campaign.
Surprisingly, had a fucking fantastic campaign.
Yeah, I mean, the multiplayer in Titanfall 1 was amazing. Very much a tacked-on campaign.
Well, it wasn't really a campaign, was it? It was just a series of multiplayer maps with some dialogue at either end of it. Maybe a cutscene.
Yeah, which you couldn't play in order.
Yeah, you had to go into matchmaking to find things, and if there was no match available for the campaign level that you were up to, it just skipped you ahead until you found a match. So.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. And then the second one had an amazing campaign. They really made that was an apology which worked, because that campaign was amazing.
Yeah, that was we're apologizing for Titanfall 1 by having this campaign in Titanfall 2, and everyone was like, "Yes, apology accepted. Very good. You did it. Well done."
Multiplayer was still on point. I mean, I wasn't too fond of the whole hopping into people's Titans to nick the batteries. Well,
yeah. Yeah, in the old one, it was just shooting, right? You just jumped on and shot. Ripped bits out of it. And,
if I remember rightly, in the second one, after you rip the battery out, you could jump on again and drop a grenade down the hole you just made.
That's the one. I mean, it's a great multiplayer game that died on its arse because EA would EA, and they released it in between two fucking behemoths of the first-person shooter world. But yeah, I mean, as much as I want to be excited for Titanfall 3, Titanfall 3 is not coming out by holiday 2019. And it's kind of disingenuous to write a headline, unless EA specifically name-checked Titanfall 3 themselves. It's disingenuous to write that kind of headline. The 3DS is far from dead, Nintendo says, as it's continuing with efforts to expand sales. This is from Ryan Craddock over at Nintendo Life, who answers a question we have been asking on this podcast for a while now. Ever since the Switch was first released in early 2017, questions have been raised over the realistic lifetime of Nintendo's other current system, the 3DS. Despite launching in 2011 and having been on the market for almost 8 years, not to mention the new focus on Switch taking away some of its appeal, the 3DS is still receiving new software to this day, and there is no clear end date in sight. Excuse me. It would appear that the console is very much part of Nintendo's plans going forward, with company president Shintaro Furukawa saying that the system is a niche clearly separate from Nintendo Switch in the recent financial results briefing. He notes that affordability is the key to this separation, with the 3DS serving as a first contact between Nintendo and players. Here's the statement, which says, quote, "In the grand scheme of things, Nintendo 3DS has a prominent position as the product that can be served as the first contact between Nintendo and many of its consumers, and for this reason, we will keep the business going." During summer and fall, the hot-selling new Nintendo 2DS XL package was replaced in the US and European markets with sets featuring a pre-installed popular title. Because the suggested retail price was left unchanged in the US, the inclusion of one software title made the system feel like even more of a value to customers. We are continuing with efforts to expand sales. It's not dead.
No.
It's not dead. It's not dead.
Yeah.
Why isn't it dead, Keith?
I don't know why the 2DS, the 3DS are like still selling, but it does. It's like, I don't know, it's like the Game Boy. It's like, oh, it's like Game Boys and PlayStations, and it's still like, yeah, we'll keep going with this handheld stuff. It still sells. It still sells. It sells a lot to a young audience,
I guess. But
it's like my first console.
I guess it just seems weird to me that okay, it's not so much that I want the 3DS to die or that I think it should die. My problem is my problem with the way that Nintendo is approaching game development for the 3DS is that they're releasing games like Samus Returns on the 3DS and only the 3DS. Whereas it's like, put it on the Switch, you're gonna get more sales for starters because obviously it's on the Switch. I know the 3DS install base is way bigger than the Switch's due to it being out for 7 years. But like, people want new games on the Switch. I want Samus Returns. I want to play Samus Returns. I don't have a 3DS. I'm not going to go out and spend the £100 or whatever it is that is necessary to buy a 3DS.
17.
Or a 2DS. I definitely wouldn't buy a 2DS. I've seen them. They're tiny. But the Luigi's Mansion remaster came out on 3DS. I mean, the most infamous words of our Gamescast E3 2017 moment when Pokemon Sun and Moon came out, and then they went, "We're going to do a re-release of Pokemon on the 3DS again. We're not going to bring it over to the Switch."
Yeah, I was really surprised, and that's the point.
Yeah, but also it was silly. Bring your games over to the Switch. In those regards, like remake games, all you want, bring them out. Like Super Mario Maker came out for the 3DS, and Luigi's Mansion coming out on the 3DS. But it's kind of like when you bring out a brand new game for that people want to play, and you put it on the 3DS, and you don't bring it out on the Switch. It's kind of like,
yeah, it's like we will only re-release Wii U games on the Switch. Then we'll look at 3DS.
Yeah, it's like it's not going to drive that many people. That kind of release strategy isn't going to drive that many people to 3DS and 2DS. If you're thinking of it as my first Nintendo, guess what? People getting my first Nintendo are primarily kids. Kids don't give a shit about a remake of Metroid 2.
No.
Why would they? Like, at least not enough to keep it off of the Switch anyway. Keith, this is a PSA. There's one story, and then there's a second half of the story. Konami did not issue a new patch that makes Silent Hill's PT unplayable. This is from Colin Stevens over at IGN. This has been fun to watch develop. A report of a new patch rendering PT unplayable, even if the game is already installed on your PlayStation 4, is circling the internet. A Reddit post from user Populus Tricocapra was posted on our Silent Hill a few days ago, claiming that they couldn't access PT, the playable teaser for the unreleased Silent Hills game, on their PS4 with an accompanying screenshot of the locked game. The picture shows that this is version 1.01 of PT, that the latest update occurred on October 22nd, 2018, and that the application is ineligible to start up. And then there was an update several days later from the same news article, which says, despite an image circulating on forums, Konami has now confirmed to IGN that it did not issue any kind of patch or update that deactivates Silent Hills PT on PS4 consoles where it was already installed. A Konami representative provided the following statement, quote, after our investigation, we can confirm that there have been no Konami or PlayStation Network updates that would have affected or prevent access to the game, end quote. As it stands, PT can still no longer be downloaded from the PlayStation Store, but it will remain functional if you already had it installed prior to its 2015 removal. That's why it's never coming off my PS4.
Can you play it?
Well, I haven't actually tried because I don't want to, because it's scary as fuck. So, I might make it a stretch goal for our next charity thing that I'll play PT again and actually try and finish it. But it's scary as fuck. There were 3 of us in that room. We all played that game together. And there were 3 of us in a room in broad daylight, which was well lit, and all 3 of us were shitting ourselves. Which shouldn't be possible. When you're watching a horror movie or playing a horror game, if you're with friends in broad daylight in a well lit room, it shouldn't be possible to get as freaked out as we all did playing this stupid fucking PT game. And it makes me really sad that Silent Hills isn't the thing. Anyway, let's do the last news story. Sunset Overdrive listed for PC by ESRB. This is from Onesco at Polygon, who writes, Insomniac Games' Xbox One exclusive open-world adventure just got an ESRB rate listing for PC. The rating in summary is identical to the one the game received when it launched in 2014. A week ago, Microsoft Chief Executive Satya Nadella told investors that Xbox Game Pass, the all-you-can-eat subscription service for Xbox One, would eventually come to Windows 10 users, and earlier this year the company said that all Xbox exclusive games would be available to Xbox Game Pass subscribers on the same day they launch. So if you want to have all of your Xbox exclusive games available to Game Pass subscribers, you have to bring them to PC, because if you're going to have Xbox Game Pass on PC, it's, yeah, a lot of people have been doing the usual thing when something like this happens. Maybe they're thinking about bringing back Sunset Overdrive. Oh, if it sells well on PC, they might do a sequel. And all I say to those people is, remember Alan Wake? It sold really well on PC when they eventually brought it across to PC.
Yeah.
That's why we're enjoying Alan Wake 2 right now.
Sales beyond the first week don't really matter.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Yeah, I mean, historically, yes, but that's just because it's like the sales in the first week are like all the way up here, and then it just does this very, very quickly. I mean, although we don't use GFK chart tracks, the UK charts, like you read the numbers breakdowns, any game, no matter how popular it is, like it loses like 50 to 75% of its sales after the first week. Just because that's how it works, right? Like, a big game comes out and everybody who wants excited buys it, and then people still buy it, but your sales will never probably go up above those first day of week sales. I was going to say first day sales and first week sales probably. But I want to believe that. But unfortunately, the other thing, even if I said didn't have remember Alan Wake in my back pocket, the other thing is Insomniac Games are probably all working on a game ending in the number 2 right now, but it's probably not called Sunset Overdrive, although it does begin with S, and it won't be coming out on Xbox. Spider-Man. Because the difference between Spider-Man and Sunset Overdrive is PlayStation 4 owners actually put their money where their mouth is and bought it, whereas Xbox owners did not buy Sunset Overdrive, which is why we'll never get a sequel, and it's a shame because it's a very good game. There was a side quest in that game towards the end where you found this lady and you had to go around the city and collect all of the unreturned exclamation points from the side quest vendors who hadn't given them back yet. It's just a random story I remember from Sunset Overdrive.
It seems like Overdrive didn't have it was a new IP, whereas Spider-Man, everyone knows who Spider-Man is, what a Spider-Man game.
Oh, 100%. But, you see,
I do like that idea.
I mean, that idea is classic. It was so fucking good, to just come across this lady randomly and just have this quest happen. Sunset Overdrive was a brilliant game.
Yeah, indeed, I one day want to just have you walk through a town and find someone stand underneath an exclamation mark.
I would love it. I mean, yeah, maybe I am being a little bit unfair when I say that. PlayStation owners buy their fucking exclusives and Xbox owners don't, and that's just a fact of sales figures. Even if you take into account the massive lead that PlayStation 4 has over Xbox One, people still don't buy the fucking games. Now it's less of an issue going forward because of Game Pass. You're looking at total players as opposed necessarily to sales. Forza Horizon 4 is a huge success, not just because it sold quite well, but because it also drove Game Pass subscriptions. Which is, so it's a bit more of muddy waters. But I see people complaining all the time, Xbox doesn't have any great games. Number one, of course it fucking does, you lunatic. And number two, nobody bought them, the exclusives that came out in the early runnings of the console. So you're not going to see a sequel to Sunset Overdrive. You're probably not going to see another Halo Wars. For that reason, because at the end of the day, no matter how good a game is, it needs to sell. Unfortunately, that's the nature of the business. Just like Alan Wake.
And on that sad note,
it comes. You know why Alan Wake is at the forefront of our minds right now? Because the only reason it didn't fucking sell is because it released the same fucking day as the predecessor to that. Microsoft went, hey, Rockstar Games is releasing a game. You know what we should do? Let's release our game on the same day. And then it sold 100,000 copies or something and just died on its arse. But at least I could say I bought one of those copies. And it was awesome. You were there. I played it for 7 hours straight. We did the whole rock stage thing. rock music, fireworks. Anyway, that's going to do it for episode. What did I say this was?
134.
Episode 134 of the Words About Gamescast. Keith, thank you very much for joining me. It's always a pleasure to see your lovely, lovely face. It was a slow news week, so we got to talk about some weird stuff, and everything was in a strange order.
Yeah.
I like to keep you on your toes. Like that time Bowsette was the biggest news story of a podcast. Just because I could.
Yeah.
And that was not a slow news week. But anyway, I shall leave you to it. I see those open D&D books behind you on the bed, so I'm assuming, you've got big plans for the rest of the night, so I'll let you go. Bye.